A crow once solved a puzzle so surprising that the scientists watching could hardly believe what they were seeing. At first, the challenge seemed impossible. The bird stood in front of a transparent tube containing a floating piece of food that sat far beyond the reach of its beak. There was no obvious way to grab it. No hidden door. No simple trick. Just a reward sitting frustratingly out of reach. The researchers expected curiosity. They expected trial and error. What they did not expect was a solution that would force people to rethink what a bird's mind might be capable of. For generations, humans have tended to place intelligence on a ladder. At the top sits our own species. Below us come other animals, each supposedly limited by instinct. Birds often ended up surprisingly low on that ladder. After all, they have tiny brains compared to mammals. How much could a crow really understand? As it turns out, much more than almost anyone imagined. The story begins with one of the most remarkable bird families on Earth. Crows belong to a group known as corvids, which includes ravens, magpies, jackdaws, and jays. These birds have built a reputation among scientists for displaying behaviors that seem almost unbelievable. They recognize human faces. They remember individuals for years. They teach information to other crows. Some even appear to hold grudges against people who have treated them badly. But the puzzle that shocked researchers revealed something even deeper. In the famous experiment, the food floated inside a narrow tube partially filled with water. The water level was too low for the crow to reach the reward. Nearby sat several small stones. The crow examined the situation. Then it picked up a stone. The bird dropped it into the tube. The water rose slightly. Then another stone, and another. With each stone, the water climbed higher until eventually the food floated within reach. The crow calmly collected its prize. What made this astonishing was not simply that the bird solved the problem. It was that the solution seemed to demonstrate an understanding of cause and effect. Somehow, the crow recognized that adding objects to the water would raise the level. Many people immediately thought of an ancient story known as Aesop's fable, in which a thirsty crow drops pebbles into a pitcher to raise the water level and drink. For centuries, the tale was considered a moral lesson rather than a real observation of animal behavior. Yet here was a real crow doing something strikingly similar. Scientists became fascinated. Was this merely lucky trial and error? Or was the crow actually reasoning through the problem? To find out, researchers created increasingly difficult challenges. In some experiments, the birds could choose between heavy objects and light ones. The heavy objects displaced more water and raised the level faster. Again and again, many crows showed a preference for the more effective tools. In other tests, researchers offered floating objects and sinking objects. The floating items looked useful but had little effect on the water level. The sinking objects accomplished the goal. The crows often selected the sinking objects. Then came another twist. Scientists introduced tubes, filled not with water, but with materials that behaved differently. If the birds were simply following a memorized rule of dropping objects into containers, they would fail. Yet many adapted their behavior based on the new conditions. Each experiment seemed to reveal another layer of intelligence. What makes these discoveries even more extraordinary is the structure of a bird's brain. For a long time, scientists assumed large brains were necessary for advanced thinking. Mammals, such as chimpanzees and dolphins, appeared to support that idea, but crows challenged the assumption. Although their brains are much smaller, they contain incredibly dense networks of neurons. Some studies suggest that certain corvid brains pack astonishing computational power into a compact space. It is less like comparing a large computer to a small one, and more like comparing different engineering designs that achieve similar results. The result is a bird capable of solving problems that sometimes rival those tackled by primates. One famous crow named Betty became a scientific celebrity after bending a straight wire into a hook to retrieve food from a container. The remarkable part was that nobody trained her to do it. Faced with a novel problem, she appeared to invent a new tool. Imagine encountering a challenge you have never seen before and spontaneously creating the necessary equipment to solve it. That kind of flexible thinking was once believed to be uniquely human. Crows continue to prove otherwise. Researchers have observed some wild crows crafting tools from twigs, leaves, and plant stems. Certain species carefully modify these materials into shapes better suited for extracting insects hidden deep inside trees. The birds are not merely using objects they find. They are actively improving them. Tool making requires planning. It requires understanding how one object can affect another. Most importantly, it requires seeing a future outcome before it happens. That ability may explain why the puzzle-solving crow performed so well. Instead of seeing random stones and a tube of water, the bird may have perceived a chain of events leading toward a goal. Stone enters water, water rises, food becomes reachable. The crow seemed able to mentally connect the steps before completing them. If you love uncovering secrets like these from the hidden world of birds, be sure to subscribe to Backyard Bird Mysteries for more amazing discoveries. What makes crow intelligence especially mysterious is how it appears in everyday life. In cities across North America, crows have been observed dropping nuts onto roads and waiting for cars to crack them open. Some even place the nuts near traffic lights. When the light turns red and vehicles stop, the birds safely fly down to collect the exposed food. Nobody teaches them this. The behavior spreads through observation and learning. Scientists have also documented crows, recognizing individual human faces years after a single negative encounter. In some experiments, researchers wore specific masks while capturing birds for study. Long afterward, crows reacted aggressively toward those same masks even when different people wore them. More astonishing still, nearby crows that were never captured also learned to distrust the masks. Information appeared to pass through the crow community. This social intelligence may be one of their greatest strengths. A crow rarely faces the world entirely alone. Knowledge can spread from bird to bird, creating what some researchers describe as a form of cultural transmission. In a sense, each generation may inherit not only instincts but also learned wisdom. The puzzle-solving crow was not simply an isolated genius. It was a representative of a lineage that has spent millions of years evolving sophisticated ways to understand and navigate complex environments. And yet, many mysteries remain. Scientists still debate exactly how crows think. Do they possess a genuine understanding of physical principles? Are they imagining future outcomes? Do they form mental models of the world similar to those used by humans? The answers are not yet fully known. What is known is that every new experiment seems to challenge assumptions. Again and again, crows succeed where researchers expect failure. Again and again, they reveal abilities that force us to expand our definition of intelligence. Perhaps the most humbling lesson is that remarkable minds can emerge in forms very different from our own. The creature perched on a backyard fence may not speak, write, or build cities. Yet inside that glossy black head exists a brain capable of remembering faces, crafting tools, teaching other crows, solving puzzles, and adapting to challenges in ways that continue to astonish scientists. The crow that solved the impossible water puzzle did more than earn a piece of food. It opened a window into a hidden world of intelligence that had been overlooked for generations. Every time a crow watches from a treetop, glides across a parking lot, or studies the humans below, there is a chance that far more is happening behind those dark eyes than we ever suspected. And the most surprising discovery of all may be that crows are not even the only backyard birds hiding abilities that seem almost impossible to believe.